Nick, I want to thank you so much for being with us here today. I know that you're busy, but I just had to have you here to talk to the community about the carer space. I'm sure you agree, but often carers are overlooked and their role is so important, and I think sometimes we just take it for granted. So having you here to talk about what's available and the supports is going to be phenomenal for them. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before I ask you about all of that and your background, we need to know who you are, Nick. So tell us whatever you'd like about that. Who's Nick?
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess it's a very open-ended question. Look, I'm very passionate about what I do in work. I think outside of work, I'm pretty simple. In a lot of ways, I love spending time with my family and my friends. That's really important to me. I love going out for dinner. Love exercise. I love reading. My aim is to read one book a month.
Wow.
Which at the moment I'm a little bit behind on, but I'll get there. There's still quite a few months left in the year, so that's okay. And I love watching TV and I love watching movies, and whenever I can, I go see live theatre, stand-up comedy, anything live or on a stage, I'll be there.
I know that you're working in the carer space now. I'd be really interested to hear about your professional background and the decision you made to move into that space.
I worked in advertising. I started my career in advertising, and I worked as a graphic designer and worked in publishing and
Wow.
for a bit. And look, my passion was really kind of wanting to study mental health, and that sort of led me into community services. So my first role in community service was in disability employment services, which gave me a sense of kind of understanding working one-on-one with individuals and community members. From there, I moved into the NDIS space, which was very insightful, and what I think I learned a lot about with NDIS is putting the person at the centre of support, which of course is so important. From that person-centred approach of ensuring a person's needs and supports were at the forefront of everything. Then I moved into the carer space, and I've been in this space for over 4 years now. So I work at Holstep Health as a team leader in the community engagement team. We provide both Victorian-funded support for carer program services to carers, and also the federally funded Carer Gateway services across Victoria. I've worked in the space for over 4 years. It was very hard at first to move from the NDIS space where we obviously take into consideration the person's need, and it's person-centred, and the approach of ensuring that advocacy and that their needs are looked into and made sure that they're getting the support. Moving to the carer space was taking that person-centred approach, looking at how the people around them and the people that provide support to them are also considered in the part that they play in providing support.
What's interesting about what you've just said, Nick, for me, is that we as an organisation, so we've been around a long time, we're 51 years old and ageing disgracefully, but because it's a genetic disease, we just don't work with the person that has the disease, we work with the family.
Yeah.
And I think some of the struggles that we've had is NDIS, as you pointed out and worked in that space, is very much based on the individual and not those impacted around that individual.
Yeah.
And that's been a real struggle, really trying to make sure that we also meet the needs of the family, and most of them are carers.
Yeah.
And so for you to have worked in that NDIS space, which is very much individually focused on the person that's living with a condition, to then moving into the carer space where you're looking after the other people that are being impacted and absolutely have needs, and they're an essential part of everything that's going on, is really profound, I think.
I think what we find, and you will have noticed yourself, is that what a lot of carers experience is putting themselves last.
Yep.
What we aim to do always is try to get the carer to look into how they can support themselves. It can be really challenging, and I think that challenge is multifaceted. And I think one of the biggest challenges is people recognizing the role that they play in providing support to another person. When I say the role they play, it might not necessarily be something that they even recognize that they're doing. So educating people around not just what supports are available, but what they could, and more often than not do need, because research shows that carers are 40% more likely to live with a chronic health condition themselves. That includes mental health conditions. There's burnout, there's fractured relationships, there's little time for other social commitments, there's the financial burden. There's a lot of factors that are at play, and what we do find is that people aren't recognizing that they need support.
My experience of carers in the Huntington space is they're so busy trying to meet the needs of the person that they're looking after that they just don't feel like they can have the time to give permission for themselves to be angry. That's where I think your service is so essential, because you actually give them permission to say you're actually allowed to feel all these things.
Yeah.
You're absolutely and should come and actually look after yourself, seek what you need to enable you to do that.
Yeah. We definitely aim to get people to try to at least put themselves at the forefront of their own well-being. That can be really challenging because, as you just said, it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. There are a lot of people that feel that they're expected to do that and provide support. And we're not here to say that they're not expected to do that. We're not here to tell anybody how to, feel or think. But what we are saying is there is support out there.
That is directed towards them.
Absolutely.
And that it's not, say, as in the individualised space of the NDIS, it's not about the person that's actually needing care, but it's about the carer who deserves to also be supported. And there's a service for them to address their needs.
Absolutely. Look, I think in a lot of ways, what supports and services we can at least offer for those that we can't or might not be able to, we could try to point people in the right direction.
Yeah.
So referrals, information, a bit of education and advice as well. We're able to invite carers along to information sessions, or maybe they could learn a new skill that they might not have had time to previously.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's great. And so how long has your service been in place? Has it been sort of 10 years, 15 years? Has it been around a long time?
So Carer Gateway was rolled out in April of 2020. So it's only 5 years old. It's a national service. The Support for Carer program has been around for a lot longer. We are very lucky at Holstep Health to have access to both funding sources, but Carer Gateway services are nationwide. In Victoria, we lead the service provision across the state and work with 7 providers and organisations that we refer to. But yeah, it's only a 5-year-old program, so there are a lot of people that still don't know about it, which is where myself and my team are able to kind of help to tell people about the program and allow them to make contact or working with other organizations or providers to ensure that they know about it, so that they can refer their participants or clients or community members that they work with.
No, I totally agree, and I think why I related very much to the service that you're providing is it's actually wanting to provide the skills and knowledge that carers need and should have access to be able to advocate for themselves and know where to go to get the support that they deserve and should have access to.
Yep.
And we're a firm believer in that, and I think that's why we are really happy to sort of partner and make sure that our community have access to your support.
Yeah.
For people that will be watching this that are carers, what would your advice be to someone that hasn't really accessed a service before, hasn't felt like it's their space or place to do so? What would you advise them in terms of a first step?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would probably say is we can also share our e-referral with professionals that work in this sector who can refer on behalf of another person.
I really appreciate that, because I think taking that first step to even just reach out is a big one.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that with your service, people can ring and there's the message I'm taking from what you're saying is there's no such thing as a stupid question. And so you can ring potentially not really knowing what you need, but you can just have a chat. And then maybe through that, and if you're feeling comfortable, you can potentially extend that onto whatever's needs you have at that point in time. I think that's a really good first step, and I'd encourage people to do it. Could you just give us a little bit of an overview of the services that you do provide?
Definitely. So one of the most popular services, I would say, is the free counselling. Carers are eligible for sessions of free counselling to talk about their emotional needs or mental health around their caring role. We also offer carer coaching, which is a less kind of therapeutic, more goal-setting service that carers can access to, talk about some goals around things like nutrition, or maybe how to get a better night's sleep, or how to manage stress. We also have access to both online and in-person peer support. So we organise groups and activities and events for carers to meet others in a space where they're not obliged to necessarily talk about their caring role or divulge too much personal information, but it can just be as simple as that social connection. To quote Brene Brown, we are hardwired for connection. It is needed. We need to feel connected, and that sense of community is really important. As I said before, I love a movie. Who doesn't? The whole point of a movie is really to escape into fantasy, and not that people need to escape, but to get that respite for a couple of hours.
Have that mental break.
Absolutely. So we've taken carers to the movies before. We've taken carers to art exhibitions, to art therapy, cooking, gardening, and then as simple as meeting up and having a coffee or a chat or sharing a meal is also really important. So that's another service that we offer. We also provide services for young carers. So anyone under the age of 25 who is looking after another individual. Statistically, it usually is a sibling or a parent, but we've worked with as young as 7 years old who help out at home in ways, again, which might not be the traditional sense of what we think a primary carer or someone providing care would do, but it could be as simple as helping wash the dishes or cleaning, helping a sibling with their homework. There's so many different ways that providing support can look.
It's so heartening to hear you say that, because I think a caring role has always been a very traditionally defined role, and so I really respect the fact that regardless of your age or what tasks you are performing, that you don't have that traditional definitive role task, that your service will have a chat with you and actually talk you through it and say, we recognise that.
Yeah. And I think with young carers especially, being a young person in general is quite challenging for a number of reasons. Adding on that extra layer of providing care to another person, there's statistically about 2 in every classroom. So that's quite a large number when you think about it. And a lot of young carers are behind academically. We might be able to help in any way to kind of keep that engagement with school or local community.
That's really good to know.
that's a really important thing for young people, to feel connected and to not feel isolated. Those are the main services and supports that we offer. We can also help with referrals or information provision. So maybe somebody might need advice on how to apply for a companion card, or to apply for a carer payment. And again, referring to other services. We work with quite a large number of organisations across the state who specialise in certain areas, such as yourself. So, we can provide information where possible and link people into the services that most beneficial to them.
It sounds like, for me, you provide almost the main touch points for carers, which is fantastic. And I'd be really interested in the events and the peer support that you provide as well, because I firmly believe that people who come from the Huntington's community should not live and breathe it 24/7.
Yeah.
And so I think it'd be just fundamentally important to have exposure to other carers who don't necessarily come from the community, who have other skill sets to share, other experiences to share that might be absolutely relatable and transferable.
Yeah.
I think that could only be empowering.
Yeah, definitely. We also have access to short-term and emergency respite as well, which is great for any individual who might find themselves in a situation where they step into that area of concern around, if something happens to myself, if I need to be hospitalised for some reason at a short notice, who is going to help out? So we can provide access to emergency respite and short-term respite as well.
Thank you so much for that. And for people watching this session, please don't be concerned, because we're going to have some information on our website for people, and they can access that when the time is right. But I think you gave a beautiful overview. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. It won't be the last time. So we've forcibly adopted you now into Huntington's Victoria. So good luck with that.
Thank you. That's fine. We're happy to come along for the ride.
And look, I'm sure we'll talk again in the future. And thank you so much. And we have best wishes for the service. We hope it keeps going strong, and you keep supporting those carers who are so fundamentally important to our society. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure.